We played hide and seek for raised our shadows.
Bye. Easy. A little wobbly still. It is a little bit on the wall. Whew, wow. Gardening's a lot of work. There it is right there.
Daydreamer, kidnap me. Take me back, all the way back to them days. Running around in a gown and a crown.
Ooh, I love the smell of it. Hey, welcome back to the channel. And if you're new here, welcome to the next saga of my life, which is gardening. I have never gardened before, so this is my inaugural gardening season in the Canadian North. So I'm in the Yukon, and up here we have a very short growing season. You have to know what you're doing. I think you have to know what you're doing no matter what when you're gardening. I'm finding that out. But up here it's particularly tricky because of the short growing season and the cold, possibly frosty nights that we may get in the middle of summer. Our average high temperature in the summer is 19 degrees Celsius, and the low is about 5 degrees Celsius. We actually hit 0.5 Celsius a couple weeks ago, and that was very chilly and got my heart a-fluttering for my poor little tomatoes. And they're still alive, but I am hopefully going to mitigate that risk of them dying on me because I've babied them for, well, since April now. So if you're familiar with the gardening zones that they have, 0 is the coldest, 9 is the warmest. We're right where I am, it's about a 1, maybe a little bit less than a 1, depending on that summer, I think. This video, you'll see my plan for the garden beds. So I needed some garden beds outside, and I have a couple issues. One is gophers. There's gophers everywhere on the one side of the cabin. On the other side of the cabin is my dogs and dog pens, and they're in those in the day if I'm not around. But the gophers don't go over there because the dogs are there sometimes. So they might go there at night. They might try and sneak in, but I thought that was my best bet for the gardening beds. So I also didn't want to spend any money or very little money on the garden beds. And I have a ton of scrap wood. So I thought I could utilize that to make something pretty cheap. It wasn't going to be a beauty, but it was going to be functional, hopefully. So what I have in the dog pen is an old dog condo. I call it the dog condo because it is fully insulated. You could fit like 6 dogs in there. I used to have an old pack years ago who there were 6 of them, and they loved that thing in the winter. They were in there. The insulation on the roof was it got some moisture in it. It was getting a little wet. So I was going to tear it down, the roof anyways. And I was thinking of tearing down the whole condo, but then I thought, wow, it's like actually raised up off the ground a few feet. And it's, it has, you know, all the walls up. So I thought I could turn that into a garden bed, and what I needed to do was rip off the roof, then rebuild it. And that probably took me twice as long as building something from scratch because I had to take off the roof, and there was a ton of insulation in there that I had to get rid of and take to the dump. And then all of the plywood had nails in it, or screws, both. I seem to have liked to use both. I don't know why. So then I had to take all those apart, take all the nails and dismantle the parts of the roof that had the framing on it, and lots of 2x4s in there. So it was lots of good stuff that I was going to reuse. It just took forever to tear it apart. So for the garden beds themselves, I was going to use some 2x4s. That was my plan, was kind of to build the base out of 2x4s. And I was just kind of winging it as I went. I never really plan out building structures because it's really hard for me to see it in my mind when it's on paper. So as it's easier as I start going through it to, like, as I see the next step, I can tell where I'm going to go with it. Probably totally backwards, but hey, it works for me. Yeah, that's going to be it. One on this side, one over here, little walkway down the middle. And I will probably put another one right here. When these are done, I'll add a little bit, but yeah, this is going to be where my, whoops, it's not attached yet. It's going to be where the bottom of the bed attaches. Got a few more 2x4s to put up there. And yeah, here we go. Good fun. What a mess here. Look at that. Sheesh. Beautiful day though. This is the hottest day of the summer. It is going to be like 20 degrees Celsius. Wow. So then I was going to make the bottom of the beds out of some old trim that I had lying around. And that was just trim from inside that I had replaced. And I just kept all the wood that I've ever used in the last 15 years here. And pretty much used almost, well, a lot of it up. And so I used, you'll see all the different colors of trim that I use. And some of it was other boards that I had found too because I ran out of the trim. This is my plan. Just got to cut these down to size and that should be good enough, nice and deep. How I constructed it, just all pretty much used 2x4s. There, I just attached those to the wall. Have little chunks of 2x4 up here. Yeah, nice little area where I can actually store stuff. I'm dirty. Look at that. All right, one bed is pretty much done. I look like I have a beard. Oh, that's pathetic. Anyways, I spent all day on this. The bugs are coming out because it's cooling off. And I got that one done, ready for soil and gravel. This one I just got to do the sides, and that's done as well. So, whew, wow. Gardening's a lot of work. I'm exhausted. Soil. Michael Live and everything. Ooh, it's so pretty. Cindy's in her element.
I am. You don't need
Ooh, I love the smell of it.
Oh, it smells great. Yeah.
Yeah, gloves, you don't feel it. You know,
You
you
don't
need to
feel
feel the
it. You
soil.
don't
Be
feel
at one with the soil.
Yeah.
So I've got my friend Cindy, who has a gardener herself and has had her garden and plants and flowers for years, decades, and she's pretty good at it. She has a lot going on in her garden, and she has a greenhouse as well as about 6 garden beds. And so she's kind of been helping me through this, coming out at each step and helping me with the plants and planting the seeds, planting the plants from the seeds. Oh, I killed myself. It took at least like 2 to 3 wheelbarrows of gravel to put into one side. So it was a lot of gravel. And then on top of that, we put the soil, and then we started planting. The exciting moment. Couldn't wait for the planting day. And then the planting day finally came. And then we started with the peas. Those had to go, you know, certain lengths apart. And then we put up the little string for them for them to grow, climb up the rope. I'm going to have to put another one up there, I think, as they get bigger. And then we put in carrots. I'm very excited about the carrots. So I started, I'll probably start more carrots next year. it wasn't quite enough to do a whole row. Tearing those apart when you have like more than one plant in those tiny little plastic thingies, whatever they're called, and putting them into the soil was really tricky. That was quite a bit of work. Then we put in radishes on that row, and we actually thought it was the arugula at first, and then we decided no, this was actually the radishes, because I don't know what they're going to look like when they grow up. A mystery to me what they look like when they're growing, and because I haven't really paid attention to plants too much before, and Cindy has a different type of arugula that she used, so that's why she wasn't sure either. So it's a learning moment for both of us. So then at the end piece I put in lettuce, and that was where the arugula went, and the butter lettuce. And then I was on my own. I was on my own that day, so I wanted to get it done fast, so I just smashed a whole bunch of them in like really close. I think they're really close together. I don't know how far apart lettuce should be, but there's like a lot of lettuce packed in there, so we'll see how it does. But so that's the end piece, and then on the other side I put in cilantro and the tomatoes. My favorites went in that side. Cindy had told me how much room tomatoes take, and it's a lot of space, so I put in 3 in that side. It's maybe more than it needs over there, but we'll see what happens. And then I put in cilantro all around it. I had a couple cucumber plants as well. I was actually away for a while there and Cindy did all my watering of all my plants inside, and there was a tray on the windowsill that I forgot. And it was days later after I planted everything, and I think I got like 3 cucumber plants that were there, and I couldn't remember where the rest were. I was like, I was sure I had some more cucumber plants, but oh well, you know. And then days went by again, and then I saw Cindy. She was over here, and I said, hey, did I have more cucumber plants? And she looked in the windowsill from outside. I went, Stacy, there they are. And I went, oh, yeah. Dang it. So they were all almost dead. I think I salvaged 2 and just stuffed those in amongst the peas. So we'll see how they do. Oh, and then I did a swap with my neighbor, another neighbor who was looking to trade for a tomato plant, and she had squash plants, some really big flowery squash plants. So that was exciting to have something different. So I put the rest of the tomatoes, only had room for those 3, so I put the rest of the tomatoes in buckets, so I had to go buy more buckets because I do have a lot of buckets but didn't have enough, and I wanted some clean buckets, not poopy buckets. I use the buckets for dog poop, so I had to get buckets, and so now those are all planted as well. And the other thing I did was wheelbarrow potatoes, or as I like to call them, barrow taters. barrow taters. So I got the old wheelbarrow, put it in a spot where it's nice and sunny and it'll get lots of sun and rain, and drilled some holes in the bottom of it. You can see it's a beautiful, lovely specimen. I got one tire off when I was trying to fix it, and it was so hard to get off I didn't even bother with the other one. So it's got one tire. It's a one-tired beauty of a wheelbarrow. It's gonna look great in the yard. Drilled some holes in it for drainage, obviously. Don't want those potatoes getting musty or moldy. And then same thing, I did the gravel at the bottom, put some soil in, and then stuck the potatoes in there. And so they are starting to grow already. It's been same thing for them, about a few weeks, and I can see the little leaves starting to pop up, and I'm super excited to have some potatoes. So you might be asking, what are your thoughts as a first-time gardener? Well, let me tell you, it's a lot of work. I know I've mentioned that before, but it is a lot of work. I can't imagine you people who have like gigantic acreages with so many plants and vegetables. Next year, I am definitely going to plant more variety of stuff. I'm really happy with the way things are going now, with the exception of the plants or the tomatoes getting maybe a bit too chilly out there. So I want to build a cover for it. That's the next thing I want to do, is build a cover for it, that kind of like a hinged cover that I could lift up when it's, you know, can get some air and stuff when it's nice out, and then close it for the nights when it's cool. I've been working on that, but it has been a real struggle, I have to tell you, because I did not plan on having to do that. So my current garden bed is completely uneven, and so I have to kind of level it out to get the this work on this frame for the new thing. But you'll see that next video. It's a gong show. I don't know if it'll work, but I pretty much just threw my hammer in frustration today. So I'm just gonna leave it be for a day or so until I'm on better terms with that project, and then I'll go back to it. Maybe. May not happen this year. Let's be realistic. So here's the garden as of June 15th. These have really come up. The peas are growing a little bit, but not like super fast. Carrots doing okay, and then the little ones that I planted the seeds here, they're coming up too. They're all along there. So these are all radishes. Arugula. These are the ones that just might be a little too close together. Butter lettuce. Eating cilantro. You might have seen in my community post that I had the very first thing I had from the garden was cilantro on my breakfast burrito. Now that was exciting. And boy, was it ever the tastiest, most tasty cilantro I've ever had in my life. And then I tried the arugula, and that is so freaking tasty. I can't wait for it to grow. I just want to rip everything out and eat it, but gotta be patient. Out here to pick a little bit for my breakfast. My breakfast burrito needs some cilantro, so it's actually, that one's doing really good. They were kind of flopped over when I first put them in here. Kind of like that one. I don't know, did I not bury them deep enough? Maybe I should like put it higher. I don't know. That is a squash that I got from my neighbor. I don't know if that's the pollen that was on there. There's lots of pollen on them. I don't know if it wrecked them. Same thing on the tomatoes. So here's the tomatoes. The 4 in the garden bed. More cilantro. They're looking okay. So let's take a little bit of cilantro. Take one from that one, and maybe one from this one. Oh yeah, that's looking so good. So you can do that one. Oh, fresh herbs out of the garden. Oh, and I got some dill here that Cindy gave me. These 2. I think there was 4, but I think the other 2 didn't really make it. So they're growing a little bit. Things are growing slowly because it's been so cool. Let's take a look at these tomatoes. Here's my bucket tomatoes. So this one is doing the best. It's looking really good. That one, I think the gophers kind of chewed the end when it was on my deck. This one's looking a little, I don't know, a little worse for wear. And that one over there is doing okay. Bugs are brutal right now because it's been so rainy. The bugs are everywhere. That's why I have my hood on. But let's chase that. Oh man, wow, that packs a lot of taste. So much better than the store-bought stuff. Wow. It's my very first cilantro that I've ever planted. First test. That is arugula. Very, very spicy and tasty. Not bad. Where's your ball? Get your ball, Hallie. Where's your ball?